G'day, welcome back to the channel and welcome to this edition of MGUY EV News for Tuesday the 2nd of July 2024. Please make sure you're subscribed and please make sure you enable all notifications so you never miss another video. So this is one of those stories we see regularly where there's some new battery technology which everyone's fawning over and saying you can charge your battery in 5 minutes or whatever. But what they never mention is that if you have a battery that charges that quickly, you need to find the electricity to charge it. The power needs to be inversely increased. As the charging time decreases, the power increases. So it might be great that you can get a battery that charges in 5 minutes, but where's the electricity coming from? This electric car battery takes less than 5 minutes to charge. A British startup may have found the answer to one of the frustrations of driving an electric car, waiting around for the battery to charge. Nybolt, based in Cambridge, has developed a new 35 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery that was charged from 10% to 80% in just over 4.5 minutes in its first live demonstration last week. That is much faster than the 20 minutes or so it currently takes some electric cars using a fast charger, such as a Tesla supercharger. It is also much closer to the 2 minutes it takes to fill up the average gasoline-powered car. Our extensive research here in the UK and US has unlocked a novel battery technology that is ready and scalable right now. No exaggeration there. Nybolt's co-founder and CEO, Sai Shivareddy, said in a statement Friday, "We are enabling the electrification of new products and services currently considered inviable or impossible." So there's a few takeaways here. Firstly, we're talking about a 35 kilowatt hour battery, which is half the size of what's in a Tesla. And we're only talking about charging it from 10 to 80%. So that's only 70% of 35 kilowatt hours, which is about, or less than 30 kilowatt hours. And if you work out the amount of power that requires, it's about 370 kilowatts, which is not really that much different from a 350 kilowatt supercharger. Good luck finding one of those, by the way. This again is just all hype. And anyway, when you read the rest of the story, you'll see that it's all based on an element that we don't have any hope of getting enough of to make this technology viable. Anyway, just more vaporware. Now this one is sad because basically what we're saying is we're saying goodbye. We're celebrating the end of something that has powered the Industrial Revolution for the last 200 years and has brought the planet to unprecedented levels of prosperity. And now, of course, we're just celebrating and can't wait to see it go. Historic moment as GB Rail Freight makes final coal delivery to Ratcliffe Power Station. A locomotive has also been named after the station. History was made as GB Rail Freight made its final planned coal delivery by rail in the UK. The landmark shipment was delivered to Uniper's Ratcliffe-on-Soar power station yesterday, Friday 28 June, as the station nears its closure on September the 30th. The special coal delivery weighed a whopping 1,650 tonnes, enough to generate electricity for around 500,000 homes for a period of 8 hours. To mark the historic moment, GBRF's Chief Executive Officer John Smith was joined by Peter O'Grady, Plant Manager, and Mike Lockett, Country Chairman of Uniper, to name locomotive 66781 Ratcliffe Power Station. Mr. Lockett said, "We're really proud that GB Rail Freight has chosen to name a locomotive after Ratcliffe Power Station in honour of its 57 years of electricity generation and our people who have worked there. The last coal delivery will be a significant moment and one that heralds the end of the story for the power station." This is what is killing the European energy market right now. Abandoning nuclear, coal, gas, everything that's worked so well, far too quickly, well before renewables are capable of replacing them. And we can see this in Germany and other countries in Europe where the economy is just in free fall because there's not enough energy to power the economy. And this is exactly what's happened here. What's going to happen in the UK, what's going to happen here in Australia is that we're too quick just to turn off all the reliable and dependable sources of energy before we have anything like the technology to replace it. Just madness. So interesting article here from the Baltimore Sun. Gary Baxter, I don't know the name myself, but I understand he is an NFL player originally from Baltimore, but he now runs some kind of energy company. We'll see later. And very interesting point that EV mandates, as it says in the title, exacerbate energy poverty. Earlier this year in Annapolis, just down the road from Baltimore, where I played for the Ravens, I helped kick off the Energy and Poverty Awareness Center, NPAC. This organization is a beacon of hope committed to addressing the persistent issue of energy poverty, a challenge that disproportionately affects minority communities across the United States. A particularly pressing issue exacerbating energy poverty is the impact of electric vehicle EV mandates. While intended to reduce carbon emissions, these policies disproportionately burden lower income and minority communities. The situation worsens as states move towards banning internal combustion engines by 2035, and federal standards aim for 70% of new vehicle sales to be electric by 2032. EVs remain predominantly luxury vehicles, inaccessible to many, and when consumers turn to the used vehicle market, prices surge for everyone, further disadvantaging vulnerable populations. Additionally, access to EV charging infrastructure and the financial means to transition from gasoline to electric vehicles are disproportionately skewed against these communities. A recent Gallup poll shows that only 2% of households earning less than $40,000 own an EV, with 61% expressing no intention to buy one. Again, all of these net zero EV mandate policies are driven by urban elites in their ivory towers who have no idea what the real world is like for many people, and that a cheap gas car is their only way of getting around. And now they're going to be forced, well, probably to go without because they can't afford to buy an EV or to charge them because they may not have off-street parking. They may not be able to afford to take the time to go to a public charger. It's just disgraceful. And this is a really good article highlighting how it affects minorities and disadvantaged people far more than those ivory tower elites. So here's a lesson for you. If you buy an EV, don't think that you can charge it in your apartment block or your house. There may be rules that prevent you from doing so, and you better check before you buy one. This guy didn't, and he's in strife. Eye-opening. First-time Tesla Model 3 owner learns they can't charge at home. In many parts of North America, buying an EV to ensure you have extended personal mobility can make a lot of sense. That's especially true for people who have a driveway or a garage. They can plug in the car overnight and wake up to an almost full tank in the morning. But for some excited EV owners, it could become an uphill battle. Someone just like you and I weighed the pros and cons of EV ownership and decided to buy a Model 3 standard range. The California-based individual replaced an old Dodge Dart. He needed the ride to commute, so it was paramount to get something reliable because they work for a federal agency. Besides that, they wanted to cut back on fuel costs by charging overnight at home. Sadly, the Homeowners Association was quick to let them know that they couldn't plug in the Model 3 without a few modifications. They received a letter that explicitly stated charging in the garage was prohibited. The HOA reminded the EV owner that the space had the necessary wiring for one light or a garage door opener. Plugging in a car would likely cause the circuits to overload, popping the breaker. On top of that, the letter also said that charging an EV in the detached garage would be a fire hazard and that electricity is paid for by everyone living in that condominium. So other homeowners would cover the energy going into their Tesla. As such, to avoid a fire hazard and extra expenses for other members of the HOA, the Model 3 owner was advised to obtain express approval from the HOA for charging a car at home and ask the utility company to install a separate meter for their charger. This could mean extra expenses for proper wiring, and they would also have to obtain a permit for installing such supply equipment. Essentially, the EV owner was looking at a minimum investment of $1,000. However, depending on their situation, an electrician could also determine that a new transformer is needed, and that would raise the cost tenfold. The person said on Reddit that they would stick to superchargers and replenish the vehicle's battery at work, despite there not being enough pedestals for everyone. They didn't want to deal with so much hassle just to charge at home, which is somewhat understandable. The myth of home charging is a myth. There are so few people where it actually works. You need to have off-street parking, not in a garage because of the fire risk, and you need to have an electricity supply which is suitable to charge at home. And if you saw my main video today, which is on exactly this subject, which is the resilience of the grid, you can see how even with one EV in a block, it makes a big difference. You add 5, 10, 20, it just grows exponentially. And this is just the madness that we have to face. More great news on the global economy, thanks to this mad net zero transition. Net zero to fuel a decade of global inflation. Well, I'm glad it's fueling global inflation because net zero ain't fueling anything else, that's for sure. But inaction on climate change would stoke even worse price rises, investment firm warns. Oh my God, they're all infected with the climate virus, the mind virus. The world's transition to net zero will add 1.6 percentage points to inflation annually for the next decade, a large investment firm has warned. French asset manager Carmignac has said that central banks will struggle to keep inflation under control because of the high levels of spending needed for green energy projects. Yeah, exactly. They all need subsidies. They all need massive government investment. Pressure on consumer prices will be driven by a wave of investment amounting to 2% of global GDP, rising oil costs and fossil fuel industries becoming obsolete. Yeah, not as quickly as they'd hope, that's for sure. This will put governments at odds with central bankers obliged to raise interest rates to fight inflation amid a scramble to raise trillions of dollars of capital. At least we can say that net zero is fueling something. It's fueling inflation. Brilliant. So this is what happens when you buy Chinese EV rubbish. Britain's second best-selling EV has a potentially dangerous issue, warns Which. That's Which magazine. On 3 occasions, MG4's lane-keeping system steered car into danger. One of Britain's most popular electric cars has a potentially dangerous issue that could put drivers and other road users at risk, according to a consumer watchdog. Product testing group Which said it identified the problem with the UK's second best-selling EV, the MG4, during controlled and repeated tests that it carries out on over 100 different cars each year. It found that the £27,000 EV's lane assist system, which is designed to keep the car in its lane to stop drivers veering over the white lines, pulled the vehicle onto the wrong side of the road, which potentially puts motorists at risk of driving head-on into oncoming traffic. Brilliant. And finally, in sad news for us petrol heads, another Japanese brand that has been a stalwart of the automotive industry for many years, many decades, has drunk the woke Kool-Aid and has abandoned all petrol and diesel cars. What a stupid decision. Major car brand to discontinue petrol and diesel cars next year to move towards new electric vehicles. Well, good luck with that. A major car brand has made the decision to discontinue its existing range of petrol and diesel vehicles as it strives to become an all-electric brand. Has it not been reading the news for the last 6 months? Has it not seen how all these manufacturers are backtracking on their electrification plans? Has it been living under a rock since January? Japanese manufacturer Suzuki is set to introduce its first fully electric vehicle later next year, followed by a range of new models in the lead up to the end of the decade. Suzuki and its dealership network said it would fully comply with all UK and European Union legislation to phase out polluting internal combustion engine vehicles and launch new electric cars. What a shame. By early 2025, the brand will discontinue popular models from its offering. This will include the Swift Sport, which is a brilliant car, Jimny LCV, Ignis and Swace, however that's pronounced. Well, more fool them is all I can say. I wonder how long it'll be before they change their mind. I mean, what are they doing, especially given the first 6 months of this year? Anyway, just shows they're all infected with the woke mind virus, so they can't make sensible decisions anymore. Good luck to them. Well, on that rather sad note of Suzuki's demise, that's about it for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one. Bye for now.